Hi everyone, this is Abel, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you a couple of reading updates and a review. But before we start, remember that if you enjoy science fiction and fantasy books, this is the perfect place for you. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, leave a like, share this video if you want to see more. Thank you. Reading updates first. Let's start with Stone and Sky by Z.S. Diamanti. I am lucky enough that the author decided to give me a hard copy, a beautiful paperback of his first novel and of the prequel / collection of short stories that kind of happened concurrently with the main story, and I'm having a blast. This is very funny, very fast-paced, and it kind of reminds me of what I felt when I started to read high fantasy, epic fantasy, when I was around a teenager, around 15, 16 years old, or maybe 17, because I was very young when I read my first epic fantasy book. If you have seen my YouTube newbie tag, I went into details about that, but basically I just read a couple of epic fantasy books and then I fell in love with science fiction mostly. But there was specifically one book that really made me fall in love with epic fantasy again, which was the first book in the Rift War series by Raymond E. Feist. And this gave me the same kind of feeling, the epicness and the range and scope of the kind of story, but this is a little bit more light-hearted in the part of the story that I'm reading right now. I have no doubt that everything will go south and will be very, very painful during the rest of the story, because actually the main scene that you see at the beginning of the book is very hard and it's very dramatic, but then things are very colorful, very bright and very vibrant. There is a coziness in the story that it is no doubt setting up the stage for something really, really hard hitting and really bad coming on. But right now it's very enjoyable. It's in a way relaxing, and it is amazing because it is 100% every one of us dream about when we think about epic fantasy settings with elves and dwarves and wyverns and griffins and heroes. It is amazing, it is beautiful, and I can actually picture it in my mind so very, very vividly. And I'm so grateful that the author decided to send me a little bit of swag too, because I have a map, a little map that I use as a bookmark. But it is very useful because every time someone mentions a place, I can actually pinpoint where it is, and yeah, I'm having a blast. This is amazing. This is very good and very action-packed, and I can't wait to see more, to read more. Top notch, absolutely you should check it out. Then I'm reading an e-arc for The Son of the Prophets by Bryan Wilson. I enjoyed book 1, but I can already tell you, even if I'm just around the 10-15% of book 2, that this is better. Book 1 was very good. This one, it looks like it will be awesome. Out of scale amazing. And I can tell you that I'm pretty sure that Wilson did a very good job in keeping all the feedback that the various readers and that many people that loved that story gave him, and he is trying to focus on his strength as an author and on the strength of the story itself. So I told you very clearly that there was an introductory part of book 1 that didn't actually work for me, and then it took me actually a while to get really immersed in book 2, in book 1. But book 2, it already did all the heavy lifting. We already know everything that's going on potentially. We know the main setting and all the players. we know the stakes, and we know the villain, we know the main threat, and actually the overall goal of the story, unless the author decides to some kind of a switcheroo and change everything else. But yeah, given the fact that the story it's already introduced and we hit the ground running, and the first scene is very, very well done, the prologue, let's say, very hard hitting, very emotional, and then we reunite with all the characters and we see in a way the consequences of what happened at the end of book 1. There's a little bit of a time gap between what happened and what we have there, and I like the way Colton, the main protagonist from book 1, is dealing with all that happened and the way his status changed during book 1. I don't want to say more. And we have a couple of more point of views here, especially one I was waiting, that it is very good, and another one that I am waiting. I know that we have more about a specific character that I love so much, and the author has been so kind to tell me in the end that we see her more. Yeah, I dream about the girl. I don't want to say more. I'm enjoying it very much and I can't wait to finish it. And I'm actually reading Waking Ursa Minor by Helen Righ-Pedersen. This is a kind of a slow burn for me, and I'm reading it pretty slowly because the introductory part of the book is very heavy on lore and on world building. You have to take your sweet time to try to position everything in the right places and understand what's going on. And it has a particular aesthetic that I am only now actually visualizing properly. It is like if someone pulled the aesthetics of what happens in America when it was colonized and it transformed it in an epic fantasy setting, but in a strange way, because the world is different. The cultures are kind of similar of what happened with the conflict, of course, between Native Americans and the invaders, the people that became Americans we have nowadays, and the political and religious and social struggle that came out. The aesthetics are those because the people that are originated from that place kind of looks like American Indians, and the invaders look like they're called Puritans. Actually, they wear that kind of robes. They have the bonnets, the women have the bonnets. They have that kind of culture that has that kind of a really hard, really heinous oppression toward women, that they cannot speak, that they cannot decide anything for themselves, and then the little amount of power they have to fight really hard to have it. And many women that will tell that the world didn't change, but in the book it is really a nightmare. Okay. And of course everything of that is framed in a pretty familiar setting of an epic fantasy story, when the female protagonist has hidden powers, she has a specific place in the as a chess piece on the political ground. There's someone that is hunting for her, which is the villain. I was a little bit dubious during the early chapters because we spent so much time with this villain, and I was not sure if the author was trying to make it look like a morally gray character, which we're supposed to be attracted by him, but at the same time afraid. And I don't really like that. But the more the book progresses and the more the story flows, well, now he's a bad guy. And he's framed like a bad guy because he does horrible things, but he has specific reasons. He's not just someone that it is politically dreamed or someone which is who's pushed by religious beliefs. There is something going on with its past, let's say. So it is very fleshed out and very well developed, and I will say that the action scenes, especially when the poor girl has to run away from that villain, they're heartbreaking, heart-pounding, hard-hitting, very fast and very emotional. So it is very engaging, and I can't wait to see how the story goes on. It has hints of a enemies to lovers trope too, which I don't like. It's not my favorite. I can see it is in a way tastefully done. It is not overdone. Let's say it that way. It is not my favorite trope, but I can see how two people in that position could feel attracted. Not the girl with the villain, no, absolutely, but the girl with another guy that she meets during the rest of the story. So let's see how it develops. It is very well written though. I like the writing style. Okay, let's finish it with my reading updates, and let's talk about my review. A couple of days ago I finished Winterworld by A.G. Riddle, which is the first techno-thriller that I have read in a very long time. During my science fiction years, as a teenager, I was in love with Michael Crichton and with Tom Clancy. I read a lot of those, comparatively to all the other genres. But life got in the way, tastes change, and I broadened my tastes actually. But I came back to techno thrillers because sometimes I need something a little bit different, talking about pacing, about story buildings, world buildings, characters. So I needed something that was interesting and intriguing, but a little less demanding of all the other, compared to all the other epic fantasy and space opera that I actually read usually, and expected it to be different, but it is actually some kind of a space hard sci-fi more than a techno thriller. I can see why this will be categorized as a techno thriller, but I think it is more of an exploration science fiction book. This is set in a near future where the world is freezing, actually. And we don't see a lot of that. We see the consequences of that kind of climate change because we see a few scenes where people are kind of displaced in other parts of the world where the temperature are still kind of livable. But that's not the main focus of the story. That's the starting point. We have 2 points of view, one from a male protagonist and a female protagonist. I think that actually the protagonist, the male one, even if the female protagonist has quite a lot of space page count wise, but I think that actually the protagonist is the male one. He's a scientist, he is a genius, and when we meet him he is in prison because he did something. We know actually what happened and how he ended up in prison at the end of the book. So we have this thin red line, red thread that goes, this mystery that builds up and builds up and builds up until the end. Everybody knows aside but we don't. And the female protagonist doesn't. It's been used as a conflict for them, kind of a conflict, because as you see, they hit it along pretty well, and you'll have romance between them, of course, which is very well done. It's a slow burn. It takes them the whole book to confess that they're in love. Okay, it's that kind of love story. She's a researcher on the space station, on the ISS. When he starts the books, we have the classic setting of a techno thriller. If you have seen Sphere by Michael Crichton, the movie, or read the book, or well, actually any kind of mystery thriller, adventure thriller, like something from Dan Brown, you'll have that, because you have a the protagonist that it's been plucked away from his status quo, and he's been tasked to do something amazing and incredible and trying to save the world with a group of the best people from around the world, the best researchers, the best military people, and the best pilots and astronauts, because they have to solve a problem. Because we finally understand at the beginning of the book that this freezing, the way that the climate is changing all around the world, it is artificial. Someone in the solar system is doing it. It is actually harvesting the energy and the power of the sun, and it is purposefully trying to damage Earth and the human beings. So we're trying to stop that. And you see that it's in a very nice way how those two main protagonists, they cross paths. Because, as I told you, the main protagonist starts his story on a prison, she's on the ISS in space. How are they meeting? What's going on? And you'll ask yourself, how does she play some kind of a pivotal part on the story? Why is she involved? And how will she be useful for that kind of story? It is very nicely done, and as every other good techno-thriller, this is a disproportionate amount of information about the scientific side of the research, because once this incredible mission starts to save Earth and all humanity, they have to face very, very difficult decisions, and they have to find answers in very smart ways. I will say that compared to many other techno-thrillers from someone like Michael Crichton, this is a little bit easier on you. It doesn't hit you on your head with all those notions, scientific notions, but you have quite a lot. I like the way they were served to us, which is very understandable and very easy. It is more than the usual science fiction novel, but it is still pretty enjoyable. And I like the writing style. It is very concise, it is very fast-paced, extremely bingeable. I listened to it on an audiobook, and I will say that the two voices, because we have the male protagonist and the female protagonist with a man and a woman voicing those, they're top-notch. Beautiful voices and beautiful performances. Absolutely worth listening. And it was so bingeable that I was actually making excuses to listen to the audiobook, because I'm not the kind of person that can stay seated listening. I have to do something else. At the same time, I have to be very careful trying to pick the right task to do while I listen to the audiobooks, because it cannot be extremely mentally demanding because I'm listening to that, and at the same time I want to do something while I listen to the audiobook. So during the whole week that it took me, a little less, about 5 days to listen to this, I was washing the dishes very carefully, cleaning the house very carefully, doing a lot of stuff. My family was so happy because I was so busy doing that, but it was because of the audiobook, which is done masterfully. And I will for sure read more finished actually the rest of the trilogy, because the book finished. They do what they have to do to finish the story of that book, but of course there is more. So yes, I will absolutely read the rest of the trilogy during 2024, hopefully before the end of summer. So the book is very good. I will say that there's a lot of telling, because the author has to cover a lot of ground and a lot of time. So many times we have big chunks of time and months that we don't see happening. We listen to the internal dialogue of those points of view when they say what's going on, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a disconnection from the story. I would have loved to have a little bit more of show instead of tell. And if I'm telling this and I'm one that loves telling, I'm not a huge fan of having everything in the story being shown as it goes. But it was a little bit overdone here. We had a lot of things that would have been more impactful if we had actually scenes with real people, real characters, living through and going through those experiences, especially on the social and political side of things, because of the consequences of this new ice age on Earth and on people. We have been told what happens, but in a way maybe we could have a little bit more, a couple of more points of views around the world to show us what was going on with the rest of the story, with the rest of that political struggle, because huge things happens with huge consequences for humankind. So yeah, it was a little bit lacking on that. The flip side is that the rest of the story was flowing very smoothly, so you get to the end of the book like that. So it was very enjoyable, it was very good. I've no doubt that the rest of the story will be even better, and you should absolutely check it out. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for being here and for staying till the end of the video. Remember that if you enjoy science fiction and fantasy books, this is the perfect place for you. If you want to see more, click the like button, share this video, consider subscribing, and if you want to see more videos right now, you can do it. You see, more videos like here. Follow me on Instagram and on X for more updates. Thank you again. Bye.